commander of each of the branches of the armed forces has issued a warning to Congress this week. They are justifiably concerned about those looming budget cuts now just 2 weeks off. Their worst fear is how the cuts will affect military readiness. It's believed among the military, the Army and Marine Corps will see the most immediate effects. Joining us now live this afternoon, Federal News Radio's Jared Serbu. Jared, good to have you here.
Hi, Dave. Good to be here.
Is it the Marines and the Army that will notice this first?
I don't know about first, but probably most severely. The reason for that is the way sequestration works. One of the odd things about it is the overseas contingency operations funds that fund Iraq and Afghanistan count toward the total amount that has to be cut by 9%. Everything in DoD gets cut by 9% across the board. However, the military has very clearly said that they are not going to touch those funds that war fighters are using in Iraq and Afghanistan. That means the cuts have to shift back stateside. In the Army's case, they're going to have about a $17 billion shortfall in their operations and maintenance accounts, which fund those readiness programs. So what Ray Odierno, the Chief of Staff of the Army, has said is that the next group of soldiers going to Afghanistan, they can fund those deployments. The group after them, there's just no money for them, and those guys are going to go in 2013 and early 2014.
So if you're in the military and you're back stateside, you can't very well furlough members of the armed forces.
That's correct.
Who gets laid off?
Well, several thousand people already have been laid off on the civilian side. Those are the temporary and term employees, as they're classified in DoD. There will be no layoffs of the full-time workforce, and the reason for that is it would actually cost DoD money to do that. They would have to issue severance pay. So in the alternative, what they're going to do is furlough all of that 780,000 member civilian workforce for as long as they possibly can under the law, which is going to turn out to be 1 day a week. It's basically going to be, don't bother coming in on Friday, and by the way, we're not going to pay you.
We have focused, of course, on the most immediate of these cuts, but there's something else that goes on at the same time. When all of this budget cutting is going on, we're sitting here in Arlington, and we are surrounded by big office buildings loaded with firms whose very existence is dependent on military contracts.
That's right.
And the thinking is that those are among the first things to go, that the tap gets turned off to those jobs, and it won't necessarily be the immediate feds who feel the impact as it will be the civilians who depend on the Pentagon.
The Defense Department doesn't continue the acquisition side as much of a crisis as the readiness issues, but it is indeed a concern. We know that there have been many layoffs at many firms, and they're not concerned so much about the Northrop Grummans and Lockheed Martins of the world. Those guys are sitting on a lot of cash as they've been preparing for this. What the department's worried about is losing smaller firms that provide these niche capabilities that don't have the ability to hoard cash the way the larger guys do.
And frankly, some of those smaller operations too do just as important work as the big ones do too, so that it's as bad as it sounds, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I think that's right. And once those capabilities go away, say it's a niche provider that makes a really boutique piece of avionics for the F-35, once that firm's out of business, you got to go figure out how you're going to rebuild that capability.
Who's going to at the end of that? Right. The thinking is this will happen, it will be bad, everyone will recognize that it is, and Congress finally will be spurred into action. The doomsday scenario is, though, what if they don't? What if this lingers for a month or a couple of months or something like that?
Well, I think in the long run, what you heard in testimony from the Joint Chiefs and from the Deputy Secretary of Defense this week is that they're concerned about a long-term readiness crisis. That means, you can only keep people in the field because they are the ones trained for so long. They're going to delay putting people who are not properly trained out there for a while, but you can only do that for so long. At some point, no one is adequately trained, and that's what I think the Joint Chiefs are mostly concerned about in the long run. You're going to end up having a situation where you're being told to use a military force that's not adequately trained and adequately prepared. And we heard in testimony this week that the net effect of that is going to be probably measured in lives.
Jared Serbu is one of our colleagues at Fed News Radio, and he's been good enough to come this afternoon and give us, I think, a much clearer picture of just what we can expect. And Jared, while we were talking, 224 came and went, and that was the closest approach that the asteroid just made to Earth, and haven't seen any reports of any cataclysmic events, so we apparently think that what we had expected to happen was going to happen, and that is that the asteroid, this is live pictures from NASA, from the Gingen Observatory in Australia, and there goes the asteroid out of the picture right there. There, NASA.gov has live coverage going on right now. We just wanted to dip into it for a second. So that happened while we were talking. We'll step away for just a bit. We're back with more news right after this.
You're watching News Channel 8.